it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, February 2nd to Saturday, February 8th. Okay, so last week we wrapped up this never-ending month of January, and of course we did so in a pop-off of energies because, of course, we kicked off that final week of January with Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, moving into the highest form of our intellect in this Aquarius energy. Of course, that popped off on the 27th. And of course, that really put us in information overload, in an accelerated processing state in our higher mind, and put us in a situation to, again, start connecting the dots, start seeing the aha moments really kind of emerge. And because of that, gaining a little bit of clarity, even though we can't articulate it yet, even though we don't have all the puzzle pieces put together yet, we're starting to gain some serious clarity, if not on what we want to do, certainly on what it is that we no longer want to do. And of course, all of that came into a very harsh realization, a little bit of a reality check there, with that new moon in Aquarius energy popped off on the 29th. And of course, that new moon was the dark phase of the moon. We were all sitting in our shadow selves. We're all sitting in that darkness in order to really, really learn to appreciate the light. And that light came in bucket loads and bucket loads from the cosmos, really opening up our eyes, our heart space, our head space to the potentiality of some possibilities that are now starting to materialize on the horizon. And of course, here yesterday, of course, if you're listening to me here, January 31st in the chat, thank you so much for being here. But yesterday on the 30th, we had Uranus, the ruler over Aquarius season, the ruler over the Aquarius energy that Mercury moved into, that we had the new moon in. Uranus finally went direct in this Taurus energy. We've been retrograde now for the last 5 months. And because of this directing position, the energy is now encouraging us to be a little bit more spontaneous, a little bit more rebellious, if you will, in figuring out where it is that we've been resisting, making some of the changes that we know that we need to make to kind of move on, grow through what it is that we've been going through. And now we have the mood, the attitude, the perspective, the insight, if you will, to understand where it is that we are in fact the problem, where it is that we got to get out of our own damn way, where it is that, again, there are new paths opening up to us that we may still have fears, doubts, and insecurities in actually pursuing, but staying where it is that we're at, becoming increasingly more uncomfortable each and every single day. So, of course, we are preparing to move into February. This week, we are moving into a brand new month with a brand new vibration, a brand new frequency, and therefore a brand new life lesson. If you haven't listened to the February energy forecast overview that I put out there, I'm going to definitely recommend you do so. And of course, get your February energy guide in front of you as well, because we are going to have a lot of momentum shifting going on here in February. And although we would really like to see options and opportunities really present themselves to make major moves out in the external realm, the momentum is building in our inner realm first and foremost. We are going to gain a lot more option and opportunities to take physical action to make those physical moves towards the end of February once Mars actually directs. But right now, we are slowly building our inner realm up, confidence, self-esteem, a surety, if you will, getting our heart and head in alignment so that we are well equipped and well prepared to execute upon the plan in which we are currently piecing together. Now, we come to a very important point in the calendar as we enter into February. There's a lot of ancestral connections to the beginning of the year. What do I mean by that? Well, the beginning of the year actually takes place with that spring equinox when the sun moves into Aries energy. But this is the beginning of that because right now we are at the halfway mark between the winter solstice that we had December 21st and the spring equinox that we're going to have late in March. And so this is like the preparation period where the darkest part, the longest part, the death and decay part, the damage and destruction part, that closure, that ending part, finally kind of we're putting that behind us. And we're preparing to essentially prepare for the new year. And of course, that new year will be popping off with quite a bang. We're going to be thrown right into eclipse energies and retrograde energies, and there's a lot going on. And the very first week of February here is very divinely scripted to have a lot of astrological aspects that are fine-tuning the fated degree that we are now working with the nodes of the moon and eventually with the eclipses throughout the course of this year, setting the scene for a lot of magical things that are going to be taking place over the next couple of months. And of course, everybody wants it to be like here today, but we have to have a little bit of patience. There's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of progressions over the next couple of months. And it's definitely going to be an interesting, let's call it, script to watch get played out, not only on the greater, grander global stage here, but in our own individual lives. So, of course, we've reached this very pivotal point where we're putting the worst part of this dark phase behind us, and we are starting to look forward, and there is a little bit of a glimmer and a shimmer of light at the end of this very dark tunnel that we're still sitting in. And we're going to feel major changes coming at us this week because we have Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money. She's going to be finishing up her time in this Pisces energy, the last sign of the zodiac wheel, before she moves into Aries energy. That's going to be taking place on the 4th. So that's a new chapter for her, a new fire chapter for her to kind of get herself together, get this new version of self ready to go, to be bold and brave and courageous, to initiate, take action upon the things that we absolutely have to wrap up, to get out of our way, to clear the path, so to speak, in order for us to be able to actually start building towards the new. But if you've listened to the 2025 year head overview and done the mini course and done the work in the guides that I put out, you would know that we're only going to get to about 10 degrees in this Aries energy before Venus is going to retrograde. And she is going to creep back into the Pisces energy that we're already in the pre-retrograde shadow period in. And we're going to basically realize what needs to be done, realize who we need to be, realize what we want to do and what we want to pursue. And then when she retrogrades, we have to break ourselves down, that old version of self, because of course, if you want a different reality, you have to become a different version of self. When she slips back into the Pisces energy, she's going to have the time to kind of release and purge and detach from and put behind her the version of self that, of course, we can no longer be if we want to be a vibratory match for the goals, the visions, the dreams that we're very excited to pursue. We have Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, blessings, going direct on the exact same day. Of course, Jupiter has been retrograde in this Gemini energy, helping us to reassess old information, old situations, old circumstances, old wisdom, old knowledge that we're plucking the silver linings out, that we're integrating into the here and now, that we are eventually going to be growing and expanding upon once Jupiter directs. So this is going to be a major shift in our mental plane, in our mood, in our attitude, in the planning, the strategizing that we're going to be doing over the course of February in order for us to be very clear on who and what needs to stay and needs to go. And on the 5th, just 24 hours later, we're going to have our first quarter moon pop off in Taurus energy, again, expanding upon the intentions in which we kind of planted and seeded under that new moon in Aquarius. Again, if you don't have your new moon in Aquarius manifesting guide in front of you, you're going to want to get that. We're working with the Aquarian cycle up until, of course, the end of February when we have the new moon in Pisces. And so once we kind of hit that first quarter moon in Taurus energy, first of all, we're in a stabilized, grounded position to take good inventory, good stock on where it is that we're at and where it is that we desire to be, a grounded, logical, practical approach on what moves need to be made in order to close the door on the past and actually advance ourselves into a new path, into a new direction. And of course, that Taurus energy is helping us to anchor in the ideas, the emotions, the version of self, the vibrations, the frequency, the resonance that we need to be working on in order to build ourselves up in self-confidence, in self-esteem, in self-worthiness, to actually be manifesting the goal, the vision, the dreams that our higher self wants us to pursue. And lastly, what I will say about this week is I kind of touched on it. We have a lot of fated interactions going on, specifically with that North Node in Pisces energy. We have conjunctions going on, well, with the moon. We have conjunctions going on with Venus, with Neptune, eventually Saturn. And that North Node in Pisces is fate. It is destiny. And so again, may I remind you that when I talk about certain aspects popping off, we don't expect it to happen that day. Again, I'm going to give you the analogy of cracking a safe. When we have particular aspects, especially in a destiny fated degree, such as some of the events coming to us in this very first week in February, it's like we're turning the knob on that safe and we hear that click. So we know that that is one true number. Right? We know that that is part of the code. Now we have to reverse that knob very slowly, very carefully until we hear that next click. And when all these clicks align and we get all the pieces of the pie and all the pieces of the puzzle and the code locked in and locked down, suddenly we hear that we're able to open the safe. And opening the safe is definitely going to be a slow process from now until the beginning of the new astrological calendar. When we move into Aries energy, we get thrown into all of these eclipse events that the North Node of this, of the moon and this Pisces energy actually gives us to align with the fated degrees in which are being activated here this week. So specifically, we're going to want to pay attention to the daily energy forecast that I put out, because I am going to be bringing special attention to all the interactions that are with this North Node in Pisces that is building this fated storyline that we are going to be acting out and playing out over the coming of months. It's going to be a very different ball game, let's say. And again, if you've already listened to the 2025 year ahead overview, you would know that a lot of this year is just merely a dress rehearsal for a lot of the things that we are going to be, anchoring in and solidifying in 2026. So there's still a lot of practice to be had. There's a lot of experimentation and exploration to be had. And again, there's a lot of cha-cha-chaing, if you will, with these particular energies. So before I jump into all my rants and raves and all of the Ascension symptoms for the week, I just want to cover a couple of things on my homework list. First of all, I just want to start with the thank yous. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for dropping beautiful emojis in the comment section below. I want to thank you for your ongoing love and support. It really does mean a whole lot to me, especially with some of the attacks, the censorship going on some of these different platforms. I am shaking things up, changing things up once again, trying different things here throughout the month of February to not only kind of bring new life into the channel, but hopefully revive the algorithm to favor me instead of target me. So your interactions with my content, super, super appreciative. It definitely helps keep that information out there for those that need to seek it. And I just continue to thank you for this love and support, because again, we're building a beautiful community of like-minded individuals here. There's definitely a lot more power in numbers. So I am going to take this opportunity to, again, kind of remind you to download that moon guide. Even though it is labeled new moon in Aquarius, it is lasting for the whole month. The new moon is where we plant the seeds of the energy that we work with those intentions throughout the whole lunar cycle. And so the first quarter moon, very, very important, very specific under the influence of the new moon in Aquarius. The full moon in Leo that we're going to have, obviously a big deal, the climactic point of this lunar cycle. And then the last quarter moon that we're going to be having later in the month is going to be in Sagittarius energy. And of course, that is a totally different vibe, totally different focus that will help us manifest the intentions, the seeds in which we planted under that new moon in Aquarius. So I really recommend to be doing the work in those moon guides to help you get emotionally aligned with the energies that we are gifted with to manifest, bring to life, to create the realm and reality of our higher selves. I obviously am going to recommend, because I've already kind of dropped it, that if you haven't already, download your February energy guide. Those things are written specific for your zodiac sign, your sun or your rising. If you are wondering, which one to get, I would definitely always stay with that sun sign. If you want a full perspective on, what your month is going to be like, obviously you want to take a look at your sun, your moon, and your rising sign, but there's really no I'm going to say there's really no good reason to download all three. If you are interested in keeping up with your big three, financially speaking, you should jump over and join my Patreon. That way you can access all 12 of those guides whenever you want and work with the full capabilities of your astrological personality, which your sun, your moon, your rising makes up. I am keeping the personalized energy guide, that new service that I put out there. I'm going to keep that up and available for this first week of February. So if you want a custom guide specific to you, your birth chart, the highs and lows that you are specifically going to be going through in the month of February, I'm going to leave that service up for, for people to book in for this first week of February. And then that particular service is going to be shifting to the March energy guide. So I figured I would throw that out there and extend that into February for this first week. Yes, we do have, some major events taking place here in February in this first week, but that energy guide is trying to keep you aligned with all of the energy shifts. And specifically, if we're doing the personalized one according to your birth chart, that's really going to be eye-opening for you, giving you the parameters in which you need to kind of operate in order to stay in alignment with the energies that are either supporting you or encouraging you to kind of have patience and pause for a better energetic time to do all the things that, of course, you want to do. So I'm definitely going to leave that service up for another week. The other thing that I wanted to encourage you is if you feel called to have a one-on-one session, start doing the work within yourself, a check-in on where it is that you're at with these particular energies, my booking calendar for February, and I will be adding some appointments for March as well to that. Jump on, reserve yourself a spot. Let's do the work, especially as we dive into Pisces season. Pisces season is where we do the deep shadow work, where we do the healing work, where we lighten the load, so to speak, so that we are our best lightened selves to enter into the new astrological year as. And so I would definitely encourage you to snag a spot if you're feeling called to be doing the work and if you need a little bit of guidance and assistance on how to do just that. I also want to thank those of you that were super, super supportive for the community spotlight in which I presented to y'all here last week. Coochie Brand was super, super appreciative, giving all kinds of love back to the community for the love and support that y'all have been pouring into that particular brand. Thank you so much for those of you that have ordered and supported, your fellow community members. We have a lot of people interested. I've received a lot of interest in being community spotlighted. It's my bad that I did not put together the right kind of parameters in order to receive all of these requests. And so I am working on, a form that people can just go and fill out and send their products to or send their services to. That's not ready as of yet. So unfortunately, I actually don't have a community member that we're going to be spotlighting here this week. I don't even know if it's going to be a weekly thing, to be honest with you. I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. However, I thought that I've had so many people ask me about the products in which I use for my detox, for my immunity, for, keeping my health up and going. And so this week I'm doing a spotlight on a particular product. It is coming from, I think it's Kosovo. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. I call it the detox spray. And so you're going to see that particular little blurb or, product review or whatever. You're going to see those little images, not only through all of the forecasts that I put out here this week, but, on my blog space and all of this kind of thing. I'm going to highlight that product. It is super, super good. It's working on a cellular level. They use a formula that includes all these zeolites, and I'm not pretending that I'm a scientist and understand how it works. So if you want to do your own deep dive in that, by all means, definitely go do it. But, I swear by these products. I would never not have these products on hand. And so for those of you asking, to share a little bit more about what works for me and what I do on a daily, this is where I'm going to spotlight some of those particular products, as well as we piece together some of the community members that just aren't ready to be spotlighted. I do have a lineup. We're working out the bugs. We're working out, all the information and stuff. I just couldn't pull it together this week. So this is what we're doing this week. We'll see how it goes. You may see a future, spotlight member or product or nothing at all. I don't know. We're winging it. We're flying by the seat of our pants. What I would also want to say, though, is that there hasn't been a whole lot of people jumping over to my website and using the energy guide that I've created. Now, I know you probably like, well, I'm listening to it. Why do I have to read about it? Well, because I talk about different things in the blog. I talk about, the energy of the day and where it's going to affect the body. I talk about the ascension symptoms for the day. I talk about what you can do to ground the energies for the day. And I think it's a very important resource. It's free. So y'all should jump on over and at least have access to that particular blog space so that you can understand what's going on, why it's happening, and what to do about it. So with all of that being said, let's jump into some rants and raves. Let's jump into the ascension symptoms that we can expect for this week. First of all, I just wanted to talk about a couple of things, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I do want to address it. So I had a lot of people ask me what my take was on this whole TikTok going, dark and being banned and, US versus the rest of the world and all of this kind of stuff. Now, let me always just say that they're all in bed with one another and they're all doing things in order to protect themselves, and they're all doing things to minimize our ability to connect with people around the world and to understand what is really truly going on. And I think that if you were to step back and use your discernment, it's pretty easy to see what that quote unquote TikTok ban was all about. They switched the algorithms, they switched ownership, they switched our ability to actually receive the kind of information in which we want to receive. And so you don't really see conspiracy TikTok, and you don't really see the news being splatted on TikTok anymore. And there's good reason for that. And if you take a good look at all the shit that has essentially hit the fan since that quote unquote TikTok revival, there's a reason why they shut that down on the time in which they did. And the events that are coming out of the US, please understand, are very divinely scripted. What does that mean? It means that chaos needs to absolutely reign before we're going to see any change. And in respect to the not so good some situations that we're watching, and specifically, I had people ask me my thoughts on that helicopter show that we watched. When I say to you that, yes, bad things are happening, and when I say to you that when bad things happen involving innocent people, especially where children are concerned, please understand, especially if there is the number 33 attached to that in this particular rant, I'm talking about the runway number, please understand that that is what we call a false flag event. Meaning that, yeah, it did happen. Yeah, people did get hurt, but that it was a divinely, I'm not going to say divinely, it was a satanically scripted event by the evildoers in order to create a little bit of a shit show. The reason being for that is because A, they know that the mass awakening is happening, thus why they discontinued our ability to freely talk to each other around the world. B, they know that the mass awakening is creating all kinds of high energy, Pluto in Aquarius specifically, overturning government and returning power back to the people. We're watching it in real lifetime, like real terms here. They're trying to suppress that. And the best way to do that is to get everybody in a state of anger, everybody in a state of fear. Now, there are people in all kinds of different places all over the world that are in fact sleeper cells. And those sleeper cells are being activated in such a way that they do not have power and control over their body, let alone over their mind. And they are being directed to basically take action and make moves out into the world to create such chaos and pandemonium to try and, let's call it, dim the light of those that are wakening up and anchoring in and choosing love and choosing not to play into the chaos. And then to further that, yes, I know that the guy in power down there, and I say down there because I'm in Canada, the power down there, I know everybody's torn on that. I know everybody will, continue to be torn on that. But one thing that I need you to understand, and I've seen a lot of this on social media, is that when he was at that podium talking about his, sadness or sorrow, whatever the case may be, over this event, that took place that is being plastered all over the place. And specifically, we're talking about the helicopter here. I thought it was very interesting because when you listen to him talk, it sounds like he's an idiot. It sounds like he has no clue what he's talking about. It sounds like he has no empathy and no compassion. And if you read the comments below some of the, social media posts that are out there, you're going to realize that the majority of the collective do not realize that he is speaking in code. If you do not understand at this particular juncture that this group of people that is basically in cahoots with one another and playing, this 5D grand chess game with each other, if you do not understand that they are all talking in symbolism and code, because this is what, again, this is what we're uncovering right now for the collective, is that there is this group of very dark and nefarious people trying to do horrible things in order to keep our souls, our absolute essence as a imprisonment state here on this earth plane, due to some of the witchcraftery that is going on in the deep, dark pits behind the scenes of these powerful people. You have to understand that when somebody in a position of power is making themselves look incompetent, look stupid, look, I'm going to say uncompassionate, it's because that the words that they're using are scripted in a way to portray a message to the other people that are involved in these groups. They're all speaking code. This is why you have to understand symbolism. This is why you have to understand how the power, the information, the knowledge is being, a lot of the signs and symbols, people are like, oh, that's bad. Oh, that's demonic. For instance, the black and white checkered floor or whatever. Everybody's like, oh, that's Freemasons. That's Illuminati. That's bad. It's not bad. They have the secrets to the universe. It's only bad because they're choosing to keep those secrets away from the collective, and that they are choosing to use that power, information, symbolism, and knowledge to their benefit, which does not benefit the greater, grander collective. It only benefits a small group of people. So we have to understand that they're all talking in code. There's all kinds of symbolic language being exchanged on our social media, because that's how they talk to each other. And for those that do not understand that and are like, oh my God, this idiot is like, running our country and he has no clue what he's talking about, you are being fooled once again. Okay. And this is a problem. And I know many people that are probably listening to me rant and rave about this. Y'all know better. Y'all are, hip to the game here, but there's still a huge chunk of people on I'm going to call it the 4D bridge between the unconscious state and the awakened state that are still questioning things, that are still confused by things, that are still playing into the games in which they have strategically planned and placed out into the collective for us to play into. And so, like, when all of these, pop-offs happen on the greater, grander stage, and I start getting asked my thoughts about, all of these things that, honestly, I hate giving time, energy, and attention to, because that's just playing into their game. But at the same time, if somebody doesn't explain it, then how are we all going to understand that we have to be playing against these particular plays instead of playing into them? So I don't really want to talk about that much more, but what I will say is that, the things that everybody's been talking about in the sky, and the things that are now exploding in the sky, and the things that are now popping off in such an accelerated rate that have people absolutely losing their shit and further dividing themselves with their collective, with their community, it's all a plan. And if you are falling victim to it, then you are feeding the beast in which we are honestly trying to destroy. And so you really have to reframe where your energy and your attention is going. And you really have to push the boundaries of your own understanding and inner standing so that you can very clearly see what is real, what is not. What is a ploy, what is not, what they want you to be reacting to, and what you shouldn't be paying any time, energy, and attention to as well. And things are just going to get weirder, my friends. So buckle up, put your energetic helmets on, stay in your lane, mind your business, do what you got to do within your own realm, your own reality to raise that vibration and frequency for your own individual self so that you can give something to the collective to help kind of bump the collective up in the vibration and frequency that we need to get at in order to collapse some of these particular timelines, events, circumstances all together. We are all working individually, but we are all working together as well. So it's very important to remember that we are a thread in a greater, grander fabric that is currently being woven for our futuristic selves. Okay, so I don't want to talk about that anymore. Pivot. Here we go. So the headspace is going to continue to gain pressure, gain insight. And specifically, when Jupiter goes direct here this week, this is going to be information overload. This is going to be processing overload. This is going to be overstimulated in so many different ways. And the fact that Jupiter is going direct when Venus is shifting into Aries energy, there's going to be a lot of restlessness, a lot of agitation, a lot of irritability. What we have to avoid, and I'm going to say this loud for the people in the back, what we have to avoid is acting on impulse. Okay, so there's going to be this pressurized state of being, of realizing, of wanting to take action and making moves that, again, we have to have a little bit of patience upon. If you're acting out on impulse, you are essentially, flying by the seat of your pants in a direction that has not been carefully and thoughtfully strategized, and you're going to make a mess for yourself. We are not in a situation and a circumstance to be acting on impulse. That is just not okay. Impulsivity is a reactive state of emotion, and if you're in a reactive state of emotion, then you do not have power and control over your energy, over your thoughts, or over your inner realm of emotions. And therefore, you're acting out of pain and trauma ego identity instead of healed higher version identity. And that's what we want to avoid. So there is a lot of pressure still in this headspace. There's a lot of pressure that we're feeling in our heart space as well. And that heart activation is going to be more and more intensified as Venus kind of dips into that fire energy. We're going to talk about that in just a second. I want to try and stay in the headspace for a second. There is this vibe of both clarity and confusion. And I kind of said this last week. It's like dazed and confused, right? There is a moment of brilliance and then equally a moment of dumbassery. And this is why you need to be writing shit down, because when you gain that insight, when you have that clarity, all of a sudden everything is tickety-boo and we're hyped up and we're excited and we're in alignment. And then the energy shifts again and we completely forget what it is that we were hyped up about. We couldn't even articulate it within ourselves, let alone be able to explain it to someone else. And so, we have Mercury, who rules over this mental plane energy, rules over the lower level intellect in this Aquarius energy. So we're trying really hard to activate the higher mind and the lower mind and have them talking and in alignment in such a way that we're making sense out of things. And then what happens is that we lose that vibratory resonance, we lose that electricity, we lose that hype, we lose that vibration and frequency, and then we move down into that lower level intellect that is very connected to the ego self, and therefore confusion reigns supreme. This is why we go back and forth. This is why we're all over the place. The sinus issues are going to continue. The nosebleeds. I had a nosebleed last night. I swear to God, I thought brain matter was coming out of my headspace. I know that sounds disgusting, but guess what? We're humans and humans are disgusting. So there it is. The sinus pressure is intense. Why? Because we're rapidly processing what and who needs to stay, needs to go. If you haven't noticed, you're starting to look at people from a different set of eyes. You're starting to see people that essentially have not changed, but yet you feel like they're a completely different person. Why? Because your level of awareness, your level of consciousness is leveling up, and therefore you are seeing the world, you are seeing the people, and especially the people being a reflection of who it is that you are and what it is that you need to learn in your life. You're seeing them from a different lens. You should be seeing yourself from a different lens as well. But the crown is popping. That top of the head is just going to be burning right off of you. Your hair probably still going to be hurting. This moving headache, this dull ache that just keeps popping off in the headspace, all due to the influx of energy, information, perspective shifting, understanding. All of this stuff is going on because of this Aquarius energy. The Aquarian energy is consciousness, and it's pushing us into new levels of consciousness. It's pushing us to think outside of the way that we've always been thinking, because we know that at this particular juncture, doing the same old is only going to get us the same old thing. And none of us want what it is that we currently got. We want something more improved, something more stable, something more secure, something in a higher resonance to our higher self. And that requires us to think differently, to observe differently, to speak differently, to act differently. You got to do things different if you want different results. So yeah, the headspace is still the main target 101, I would say. There's moments of dizziness. There's moments of actually not even feeling like you're in your body. I'm not even talking about dissociation. I'm talking like this euphoric feeling of like, wow, I feel like I'm in a video game. I feel like I'm in something that is not real. That is the both dissolution of the old version of self and the birthing process of the new version of self. Everything is wonky as F. Okay, so you got to lean into the weirdness. You got to lean into the wonkiness, especially throughout Aquarius season and with all of these Aquarian activations. I'm hoping that the nosebleeds are going to go away. I'm hoping that the headache and the spike in mental pressure is going to die down. But at the same time, knowing that Jupiter is about to go direct, highly unlikely that we are going to get any kind of reprieve in that headspace anytime soon. Now, we are in an air season, and if you're paying attention to the daily energy forecast that I put out, that elemental energy profile in one of those slides, you would know that there's a lot of air in the cosmos right now, and there's equal air to equal water. And air and water is intellect and intuition. It is thought and, let's call it, emotion. And we are integrating these two parts of self to build ourselves up to this new version of self. And at that same time, recognizing the parts of the old version of self that are not supporting this new version of self, the goal, the vision, the dream that we are essentially trying to achieve. And so this merging of energies, and not that this is a great analogy, but it's the first thing that comes to mind. First of all, let me just say, toasters in bathtubs filled with water, okay? You think electrocution. I'm not trying to support electrocution. We definitely don't want to put ourselves in a dangerous type of space. But what I want to kind of, portray here is that when you throw, a highly charged appliance in a tub of bath water, there's going to be a zap, okay? There's going to be a lot of energy coursing through that water. Water and air are both contributors to us leveling up in our consciousness. Water, this is just my belief, but water is one of the strongest elements that we have to connect with the divine energies. Water, I think, is consciousness itself. And when you have an infusion of air and electricity to that water, there's new, let's call it, fluctuations in the electricity moving through your body. You are a walking cucumber. You are majority water than anything. The electricity coming from your heart space and the neural pathways in your brain, that is the zaps that we are looking to expand upon in order to create an electrical charge in our physical bodies to break through the stagnancy, break through those emotional and mental blockages, break through a lot of the pain and trauma stuck in the cellular form. Do I want you to to put yourself in a situation to be electrocuted? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. However, when you can kind of put yourself in a situation where you're tapping into these elements, this is going to help you evolve faster. This is why knowing your elemental energy profile is so important. And this is why I put the elemental energy profile of the collective up each and every single day, so that you can be looking at your individual energy profile and say, okay, maybe you lack air and water in your chart, which means that this is the perfect time for you to tap into how to manifest water and air in your chart. Maybe you have an overabundance of air and water in your chart. You're going to be able to look at the elemental energy profile and be like, okay, I really need to pull it back here. Okay, what you you need to invoke in is probably fire energy and earth energy to ground out that overwhelming pressure in your headspace and in your emotional space as well. So again, these are all tools and resources to help you understand yourself better and to help you understand how to use the energy better. But nonetheless, I know I detoured there for a second. Nonetheless, there's a lot of air going on in the chart right now. And because of that air, not only is there a lot of electricity, not only is there huge spikes coming in from the Schumann resonance, but there is a lot of dryness. And this dryness is going to continue. And Lord Jesus, help us, because it feels like we are snakes shedding our skin at this point with the flakiness of our skin due to the dryness. It definitely feels like we're peeling back all kinds of layers, not only in your physical body, but in your mental plane as well. And that is an absolutely necessary part of Aquarius energy, because when we pull back some of the layers, we are going to expose a new level of vulnerability, a new level of realization, a new level of self. And then what happens is we get to go through the emotions once we dive into Pisces season to remove those particular aspects, purge those particular aspects to make room for the healing. And that healing comes in the last part of Pisces season to resurrect, renew, and strengthen us so that when we move into that equinox energy that brings everything back to life, we are at the vibration, the resonance, the frequency that we need to be at in order to begin a brand new year. So the dryness is definitely going to continue. Now, this week specifically, because of the shift, because of Venus and Jupiter shifting, and then followed by that first quarter moon in Taurus energy that Venus naturally rules over, there's going to be a lot of jitteriness. Again, we have a lot of air energy, but we're adding fire to it. So that's a combustion part. We're bringing Jupiter out of his reflective, reassessing type of energy in order to integrate into the present moment, to align for us what we need to do in order to get from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be. Again, there's going to be a strong emotional impulse to take action and make moves that we have to resist at this particular juncture. And because of that, we're holding a lot of energy in our physical bodies. It is going to be restless. It is going to be irritable. Let me put it to you this way. In our physical body, we are exhausted. We are heavy. We're feeling weighted. We're feeling stiffness. We're feeling rigidity. Everything just feels achy and ew. But in our inner realm, we are popping. Things are buzzing. And so you may feel a little bit manic on the inside, but do not have the physical energy to keep up with your own damn self. And that's okay. That's part of the process. We're not actually in an action phase right now, even though you may want to take action and make moves. Again, let me just reiterate for you, the actions in which we are taking are to eliminate, remove, and release. The actions in which we are taking are to build our inner realm up between our heart and our head so that we are in alignment, in agreement, to take action and make moves when Mars goes direct and we're gifted with the green light, go ahead to do so. We're already going to have a plan and a strategy put into play. We know what we're going to have to pour our time, energy, and attention into. But it's not going to feel good to have all of this energy jittering around, restless, bouncing around within you, especially when you're trying to sleep at night and your legs won't stop moving and you just feel like your skin is crawling and like you just want to, break out of your own skin. Does not feel good. But at the same time, it is the energy coursing through the physical body, trying to examine where there are emotional and mental energy blockages stuck in your cellular memory. That restlessness is that electricity constantly trying to force itself through new channels, new meridians in your physical form. So no, it doesn't feel good. No, it's not supposed to, but eventually it is going to subside and your meridian channels are going to be clearer because of it. We are going to be having some solar plexus activations taking place here this week as well. And again, just want you to feel right underneath your rib cage there. Now, this could be manifesting as acid reflux, as bloating, as nausea. We're definitely going to be in for some digestive upset. But also, we do have the moon moving into a rulership in Cancer energy this week, and that always brings digestive issues as well. It always kind of bloats us up. We retain a lot more water weight. We feel puffy. We feel gross. Our cravings get out of control. I do want to talk about cravings for a second. Let me just detour on this. In Aquarius energy, we're thirsty. Yes, because it's dry, but also because the Aquarius energy wants us to know all of the things. We have a thirst, a hunger for knowledge, if you will. But then we also have a craving to do things differently. We have a craving to kind of switch things up. But what you have to understand is that energetically speaking, because our soul and our spirit has a craving for expansion, for growth, for exploration, for new things, what it manifests in the physical body as is cravings for food. So I want you to pay attention to the cravings that you're actually going to be having this week and translating that into energetically what your soul and your spirit may be craving. So for instance, if you are craving sweets, well, you're kind of, I'm going to call it, your physical body is craving sweets. Your metaphysical body is craving happiness, joy, pleasure, playfulness. If you're craving salt, for instance, what your energetic body may be craving is a little bit of stability, a little bit of a cleansing situation, maybe even protection, if you will. So there's a lot of things that we can kind of pluck out of what our physical body wants and translate into what our soul and our energy body wants. So just pay a special attention this week to the cravings in which you have. Do a little bit of a deep dive in there, get to the bottom of what it is that your physical body is definitely craving, but what your soul body could be craving as well. Back to the solar plexus for a second. So yes, it could be digestive issues. It could be acid reflux. I really think a lot of us are going to come down with almost the worst case of hiccups that we have experienced in such a long time. And I don't usually have hiccups, so I'm kind of dreading this because the last time I had hiccups, it literally felt like I was never going to break out of them. And I had them for hours and hours and hours, and it created a headache and I couldn't breathe and, just all of the discomfort. But the hiccups are actually a good sign because it is a realignment energy. It is it's all about timing. So again, I'm going to use the car analogy, the mechanic analogy. When your timing is off in your motor, whether it be due to spark plugs not firing or fan belts not moving, maybe you need a little bit of grease, a little bit of lube, if you will. There is a situation where if your car is misfiring, it's not going to be operating correctly. And when you are, trying to troubleshoot and figure out where this timing issue is kind of, alive and well, what you find are these hiccups that take place in order to reset the system to get them in alignment. And that's what we're currently going through. And anytime that we have solar plexus activations, it's because we're bossing up. But when you boss up, there's still versions and beliefs and ideas and memories and goals and all of these things of that old version of self that we still haven't necessarily brought into a closure type of energy. And so what we get is this, chug-a-chug, in that car. You try to switch that, key on and get it in alignment, and it's just chugga-chugging along. Well, in the physical body, we're going to have those chugga-chuggas too, and it's going to manifest in hiccups. So if you do have hiccups, I definitely want you to come back and drop it in the comment section. I want to see how many of us actually come down with a serious case of hiccups here this week, because it feels to me like I'm already dreading it. And so that has to be a powerful force that I think many of us are probably going to experience throughout the course of this week. And I would suspect that, again, this is probably going to align when Jupiter finally goes direct. There's a lot of air there. He is in Gemini energy. We're trying to kind of, grow through what it is that we're going through. It does kind of speak of a chugga-chugga alignment energy that is needed. And I think it's going to manifest in the physical form as hiccups. So super interesting to kind of see where that particular ascension symptom is going to pop off for the majority of us. What I would also want to say is that when Venus moves into this Aries energy, there is going to be a fire in our chest. So although that may actually overlap with a lot of the sensations or symptoms that could be coming out of that solar plexus activation, the heart space activation is going to be on fire as well. So maybe you have heartburn, again, acid reflux. The hiccups are definitely in that chest area. But there could be just this overwhelming heat in your chest or even in your shoulder blades. Again, if you're experiencing a lot of these symptoms On your back part, there's past issues that are coming up for resolution. If it's in the front part of you, you're probably having anticipation, maybe anxiety, maybe uncertainties, if you will, with the future path, while the back is definitely past issues that need to be resolved before we can move on and move forward. There is still going to be some pressure in our, let's call it, shoulder and neck space, and affecting our throat as well. Now, granted, Mercury is in Aquarius energy, so there's a lot of inner realm pop-offs, a lot of aha moments, a lot of, puzzle pieces snapping together in our inner realm that we're still not able to kind of express outwardly. And because of that, there is a little bit of a cluster F going on in this throat energy. Yes, there's dryness there. Yes, there's a clearing there, always kind of hacking and coughing, something that feels stuck or feels lodged in the back of our throat. And the reason is because we can't seem to articulate these new ideas, this new vision, this new realization. And so the throat and the neck and the shoulders, like we're bearing a lot of weight here. Again, we're still in an ending and a closure phase. We're still anticipating, again, having to do the hard things to remove some of the aspects that, again, blocking us from moving on and moving forward. And we're really feeling that manifestation of role shifting, of responsibility shifting, of needing to make some serious choice points and decision points for this next chapter, for this next phase. And it's all weighing very heavily on our shoulders, affecting our neck. Again, we are looking one way and it feels a little bit more comfortable than looking the other way. And again, pay attention to left versus right side, or looking in front of you versus looking over your shoulder and back all the time. That's going to be an energetic indication on where it is that, again, some thoughts, some emotions definitely need a little bit more alignment before we're going to be able to speak them into existence. I want to talk about the dream state before we wrap things up here. Now, the dreams are definitely more vivid, okay? So we are tapping into, again, a different level of the, let's call it, astral realm or even dream state realm. They're becoming more vivid. There's definitely a lot more crypticness to them, but we're able to kind of understand it, even though we can't articulate it and put it into words. There is this understanding that we wake up in, and we don't really know what to do with that, but we're gaining, again, little bit of perspective, little bit of puzzle pieces, little bit of clarity. What I would also want to say is that there's also this mental fog, this mental confusion that we're experiencing in the dream state while we're having the dreams that are showing us the clarity that we're actually seeking in our waking lives, that we're actually receiving through our sleep state, that we are too foggy, too vague, not clear enough to actually see in the form in which we need to see it in our dream state. So the mental fog is kind of like, again, we're dazed and confused even in the dream state. We're being shown all of these images, all of these symbols, all of these little pieces of the pie, so to speak. We wake up feeling like we had some sort of revelation, some sort of clarity, but yet the mental fog seeps into the day-to-day and we have no sweet Jesus clue what just happened, but we know it was significant. Speaking of significance, there's a lot of old people, old karma, old soul ties resurfacing in the dream state. Why? Because we're in an ending and a closure chapter. We have to cut the cord, so to speak, with the people, places, and things that, again, belong to the old world, the old version of self. And so here's the thing. So many people will have a dream of an ex. They'll wake up and be like, oh, maybe I should reach out to them. Or maybe we're supposed to be together. Or maybe I need to check on them. No, don't even creep them on social media. If you creep them, if you reach out to them, if you spend your waking days thinking about them, you are feeding into the soul tie that your higher self is attempting to cut in your astral realm in order for you to walk free in your physical realm that you are doubling down on and keeping alive and well. Please, 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 if you are having dreams of old people right now, leave them be in your dream state. Do nothing with it in your waking life, or you are going to further perpetuate that karmic exchange that your higher self is desperately trying to end and close. I cannot be any clearer than that, specifically with Venus moving into this Aries energy, eventually retrograding back into the Pisces energy. Please do not be acting on impulse. Please do not be acting on your emotional realm in your waking state. If you wake up and are coming out of a dream of a person of the past, okay? Even if there are unresolved issues that you are experiencing in your day-to-day life, do not do anything with it. Just mention to your higher self, mention to your guides that you are willing to do the work in your sleep state as long as you are free and clear of that karmic weight in your waking life. So many people are talking about old situations, circumstances, and specifically old quote unquote loves coming up. We are moving into Pisces season. This is preparation for planting the seed on what needs to be removed, what needs to be detached and burned through as far as karmic cords go, that will be done throughout Pisces season. That's why Pisces season is so emotional. That's why Pisces season is so heavy, because so much more healing is going on in the other realms than going on in the physical realm, but we feel the weight of the purge in our physical bodies, in our heart space. So this is all in preparation for a deep, deep purge taking place this Pisces season. Again, we haven't had a Pisces season that we are about to have in like forever, okay? The North Node is in Pisces energy. Saturn is in Pisces energy. Neptune is in Pisces energy. We have a stellium forming not only in Aquarius energy, but in Pisces energy as well. We are not effing around this time around, okay? Pluto's in Aquarius. We're looking for rapid acceleration and improvement, especially where our soul space is involved. That North Node in Pisces with all of the other aspects building up in Pisces will absolutely be setting the scene for the most deep, transformative Pisces season that we have had in God knows how long. So guys, just taking a look at my list here, I think I have checked off everything that I wanted to talk about. I am definitely interested to feel the different vibrations and frequencies take over as we move into February here. Again, just going to rattle off. Please make sure that you're listening to the energy forecast that I put out there specifically for the overview of the energy of the month. Please be doing the work in your energy guides. And again, jump over to my website and subscribe to that energy guide so that you can see the energy shift. You can see what that does to our physical bodies, to our energetic bodies. You can see where the highs, the lows, the everything are going to be taking place. And you can see what you can actually do about it. So of course, I thank you so much for tuning in. I send you so much love, and we'll talk to you soon.